Noble goals for noble souls, transforming our world to a better wonder to behold. No poverty, zero hunger, for the elderly or younger. Good health and well-being, good education, empowering women to become sensation. Clean water and sanitation, is it not the right of every nation? Economic growth, inclusive and sustained, through industry, innovation and infrastructure be gained. Reduce inequality for sure, make cities and human settlements safe and secure. Take urgent actions to combat climate change, conserve like below water, land, ensure we do not estrange. Justice for all, a peaceful and empathetic nations. Let us all partner to achieve these goals and provide much needed salvation.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining. A very good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, g'day mate, terfe, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 125 of the podcast Each One Teach 10, An Amazing World of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is a part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build that STEM culture. Well, we all know that gaming today isn't, just about playing. It's about psychology, storytelling, designing, and understanding people at a very deep level. Behind every game we get hooked on is a series of intentional decisions. What keeps us engaged? What makes something feel meaningful? And in this episode, we're diving into that exact space, what it really takes to build games that not only succeed but last. Today's guest is someone who feels almost destined to be in the gaming world. And here I have with me Jussi Ultima. And from building text adventure games in elementary schools to creating his first team in high school, that curiosity clearly didn't fade, it obviously evolved. Fast forward today, he's the co founder of Zaibatsu Interactive, one of Finland's leading mobile co development studios, working on major titles, including Squishmallows Match. So it's an absolute honor to have you here today, Jussi. So, mitä kuuluu?
Hi Namia. Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to join your podcast. You just touched the kind of foundation of gaming, and there's a lot of feelings involved in anything we do and anything we play. Like as developers, we're also almost every time we're also players, and I think that's always behind why we are doing this, and us human beings, we're very kind of touched by storytelling. Everything like from the Stone Age has been remembered as a story, and I think games are just one vessel to bring that forward.
I totally agree with that. You just feel like you're one of the character when you start playing the game. You relate with them, and then you start building your own story, and that turns out to be your own personal game idea.
Yeah.
And that is so well said. Thank you so much for saying that. And honestly, I'm very curious about this because not everyone starts that early. You were building games in elementary school, so what pulled you in so deeply at that age? Was it storytelling, logic, or something else entirely?
Yeah, so I I lived on the countryside. I went to a very small school. We had like 35 pupils on six different grades. So that was it. We all knew each other. We spent a lot of time together. And actually, my family was one of the first ones to have a computer at home. And I often visited my friends, asked them to visit over, and we played a lot of games. And back then, like um, I didn't have that many games, and also the games back in early 90s, they were quite simple. So once you played it a few times, you kind of knew it throughout. And also some of the games were way too difficult for me. So kind of the number of experiences what was somewhat limited. Then I uh, met at the age of 9. I met my long lasting friend Miikka, who uh, had some programming books from the library, and he said that he's making his own games, and that got me super inspired. Like, can we do this? Can you do this? Like it like I didn't kind of believe it at once, but then seeing it creating those first like text adventure games, that was really easy and really fun. You just had to like sit down and let your creativity flow. And I think that uh, that empowering feeling that you could create something yourself was absolutely part of that. But also um, back then, and what is very important in today's world is kind of the usability and how the tools help you make that. So back then the tools were limited. It was very well, basically I could only make like text adventure based on QBasic. That was what I knew back then. But still, it wasn't super hard compared to, let's say, running games, because we didn't have Windows back then. You had to configure your sound card in DOS and run games. We also had a Commodore 64 where starting a game was sort of like programming. So actually, that was a good segue to the actual programming side. So it never felt difficult to me. It was just another way of spending time and unleashing that creativity.
Absolutely, that sounds really fun, honestly. That's also a really inspiring start, I'll say. And it really paints a vivid picture. I kind of visualized it of growing up in a small countryside school where creativity had to thrive within those simple, sometimes, challenging 90s games. But what really stands out is the sense of community. And of course, when you have limited resources, you use them to fuel your curiosity and to analyze your productivity in a positive direction. And meeting your friend Mika sounds like a very good turning point, and that you saw him turn ideas into life, and using programming for that, of course, feels so tangible and alive. And it's really wonderful how you describe that early empowerment and the joy of sitting down and creating something from scratch, a feeling that's still at the core of innovation today, even though the tools have evolved so much. So that portrays that when you do something yourself, you get that feeling of accomplishment. And of course, it's the process that never ends. You keep on learning, you keep on innovating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Thank
I
you.
I really owe it to my friend Mika, and a lot of things, because he like making games is just one thing, but a lot of hobbies we shared. He was always the one who got inspired first, but I was the one who stayed inspired for years. and he was already doing something else back like at that point. So,
That
but
is
he got
true.
me into a lot of things like Warhammer, role playing games, game development, all that.
Absolutely. It's always great to surround yourself with like-minded people from whom you can learn and of course share as well. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, as you move from just experimenting to actually building teams in high school, I'll say that's a big shift. So looking back, if what's one early decision that you made that really shaped the company's long-term success?
Yeah. I think um, I think for us for Zaibatsu, the most important thing we've decided early on is that we always want to work with other companies. We want to uh, learn from others. We want to share what we are doing, and we want to have that community. And um, at first, like when we started the company, I didn't understand what that would mean. Like games industry is a global business. We are in a small country of Finland. Uh, I kind of overlooked that value at first. So I was thinking that as it's a global business, how could my connections here in Finland mean anything in the global scale? Boy, I was so wrong. Like it means everything. Like the people you know, the community you have, the stories you tell, the stories you learn. Um, that's just just amazing. Like it's difficult to describe, but wherever I go, whichever conference I attend to, there's a lot of familiar faces. A lot of them Finns, but also other folks I keep seeing every year, every event, and like that creates a very special bond. And also like the game industry, it's still young, but it's still very small and tight community itself. So it's actually I feel very privileged to be in the industry and meet so many like-minded people like everywhere I go.
Totta too. And that's also a really meaningful perspective. And I really like how you highlight the value of connection and learning beyond the your own walls that people build up sometimes. And it's fascinating to see that even in those early high school years recognized the global games industry, and it's not just like if you're part of one country you're just developing there. You have to go beyond that because again if it's localized then collaboration is the key, and that really defines the long-term success as well. Because like the way you describe those relationships, meeting people at conferences, hearing their stories and forming those special bonds within such a tight-knit community, that shows how much the human side of the industry shapes the creative journey. And that is how you get to learn from people's stories and get inspired from them, and of course share yours with them as well. That's really
Yeah,
great to know.
yeah. And it's kind of funny because as the CEO, I do a lot of business development, I do a lot of sales, but
Mhm.
it's very different. um, at least I would think that in other industries, because uh, what I'm doing is I'm meeting people, I'm listening to what they are doing, learning about them, getting to know them, actually making friends, and instead of just like selling and pushing something we do, but actually making those connections, which then eventually might turn into sales, or we might be working together in a different stage, or um, it's very different. Like I could um, I really enjoy my job and my work, uh, and I wouldn't enjoy selling a product I wouldn't believe in. But most of the time, as we're a co-development studio, most of the times I'm not selling a product. I'm just selling the idea of we should do something together.
That is true. And also, like, since you've talked about selling what you are actually passionate about, that shows like when you have people around you with similar vision and similar purpose, it's great and easier as well to work with them. And something that also, like, I previously had Tuomas on the podcast, and he was talking about the importance of when you're like building your team. It's important that you look forward to meeting people with, of course, great skill sets, but similar vision so that
Mm.
it's easier to work. And of course that's also really important that you network, like you said, meeting new people, and then grow professional connections at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a it's a small industry, so uh, if you make good connections, you actually you actually meet a lot of people through that network, the network connecting you to somebody else, and also if um, like reputation goes a long way in
That
good
is
and bad,
true.
especially in a small industry like this.
Totally agree with that. And that makes me take you to the next question. So, if we talk about the craft itself for a moment, match three is such a crowded genre. Like, there are so many games out there. So, what, in your opinion, actually makes a game stand out today beyond just, the polish side of the game?
Yeah, I think in any game it's fundamentally important to think about the player, like player first. What does the player want? What does the player need? What does the player care about? And this sounds very, very simple, but many times developers forget to think of the actual player. Like, we are not developing for ourselves. We might make games that we like. We should make games we like. We should make games we enjoy, but we're not those players. We're never going to be those players. We always know things they would never know, or we just see the product very differently. I think as developers we see all the games differently because we're looking at how it's done, how it's made, why it's made that way, and that's kind of some would say that kind of ruins the experience because you're not focusing on the game, but you're focusing on why is the game like this. Um, but yeah, for example, Match 3, which is one of those everlasting puzzle genres on mobile that's been around for ages, and the games are have very similar mechanics, and when something new is innovated, that is soon part of every one of those games. So how do you differentiate from that? It's really a good question. With Squishmallows Match, for example, we have a social feed, kind of like Instagram within the game, where players get to show off their collection, get to express themselves within the game, and through that interact with the other players. And the feedback we are getting is that they really enjoy it and they really care about the game. You can see it in the quality and the effort that they put in those posts, that they do care about it. So I'm really happy to see that as a developer.
Absolutely, and I totally second by the fact, because that's a really great reminder of what really matters at the end of the day is the player. It's very easy to get caught up a lot of times in the mechanics and the design trends, but the way you put it like cuts right at the heart of the game development, which is understanding what the players need, what they want, and what they truly care about. And I like how you mentioned Match 3 as an everlasting puzzle that shows how timeless gameplay can evolve when you connect it with the player's world. And of course, with Squishmallows, you talked about the idea of letting players express themselves, like, of course, showcasing their collections inside Instagram, which has been embedded, and that, like you said, has given you a feedback in the design thinking process as yes, this is something that portrays that you care about the players who are interested in playing the game. And of course, like when you build a game, you first start thinking about what you think will do well, and then you start aligning that thinking with, what will the players think of that as well. Because I'm currently also building my own game idea, and that is something that I'm really passionate about. And then I start thinking about the players, like what would they like to see. So I start evolving my idea according to something that I think I will enjoy making and the players will
Mm.
enjoy playing. And if that connects, then that's a win-win situation for both sides.
Yeah, I believe so too. And personally, something I really enjoy is seeing people who are passionate about what they do, enjoying what they work on. That's like really inspiring to me, and that can be like a customer service agent or whoever who is who I see that they are in the right place. Like you go to the local bakery and you see them really enjoy their work and having that pride in their work. That gets me excited every time.
So, likewise here. And of course, connected to that point, something I think a lot about people that I'm very curious about is how do you design for attention without making the experience feel manipulative?
I think um, like of course for mobile games retention is the most important thing, because if your players are not coming back, then you don't have a game anymore. But I don't think, like, if you kind of turn that thought around, I don't think designing like manipulative methods would actually increase retention. Like you can build these kind of hooks that kind of tease the player that you need to come here and claim this later, and kind of build to that. But um, I personally believe in creating such a quality experience for the player that they kind of build their own needs and own wants to return to the game. And I don't know, the end result might be uh, very similar, and the player might feel like um, have the same thoughts, same feelings about returning to the game. Like I play a lot of games, and I I sometimes know that I need to go back and do that thing in the game, even though I'm not pushed to do that, but I want to do that because I feel like there is value in me, in doing that in the game, in playing that. Um, so I think that's a very like very thin line on how how do you build that retention. And we believe in testing early, testing a lot, and listening to the players. That I think that's again the fundamental.
That's a really thoughtful way to frame it because the difference between pulling players in and genuinely inviting them back is important to understand. And I like how you describe that balance, like creating such a quality experience where the players themselves choose to return because it fulfills the need of something that they care about, not because they are being nudged to go ahead and play it. And it's powerful to think of retention as something that is being earned via trust and design other than different way of manipulations. And your point
Mm,
about early testing also stands out because that's how you understand the player's behavior early, and really, of course, it will help you build those authentic reasons to keep them playing. And of course, that also brings in person experience that when you play games, you can see what keeps you attracted to playing that game again and again. And that experience helps you also apply that learning and self learning in what you create.
yeah, yeah, and I think many times it comes down also to different players and on how different ways of playing there are and what drivers those players have. Because I've also um, witnessed multiple times of players uh, kind of being disappointed in a game when it does not send you uh, notifications to come back and claim something, because you only realize that later, and then it's too late, and you feel like you missed something and you wasted time, and like that already tells that you built a lot of value to the player, that they actually want to be reminded even more because they care about the game so much. Whereas as many times it's um, the notifications are viewed just a way to drive retention, like forced retention.
That is true. It reminded me of the fact when I was playing Hogwarts Legacy and I had a few quests that I had to do. I was lucky enough to be reminded that, hey, this is your quest that's left, so come back. And because I'm a Potterhead since I've ever discovered Harry Potter.
Hmm.
And had I not been reminded, it would have been like, okay, I spent 1 hour of dueling and now I've not been reminded about my quest. So that again shows that, the players do value the games that they're playing. And of course, if they are attached to that game and feel like that game gives them happiness, so in any way they are attracted to the kind of quests or challenges that the games have, so they would really want the game as well to give them reminders or
Yeah,
basically attract them to come back again and play and continue.
yeah, and that's something I hope to see more and more in the future, that the game experiences are somehow tailored to the player, or that they can select how they want to be reminded of things, or how they want to be guided, uh, because I play a lot of games on on my console PlayStation, and I do get frustrated of overlong tutorials. Yes, I admit it. I skip a lot of that, and then I realize I actually needed that information to play further. So then I'm like contemplating that how am I what am I doing? I wanted to learn this, but I still skipped it, and now I'm back here. So
That's relatable, yes.
yeah. So I try to be honest with myself as a player, and that in at that point, like I kind of felt maybe they should have actually not let me skip that what I wanted to skip,
Yeah.
because I was wrong as a player. I didn't know.
That is
So
true. Sometimes players feel like, oh, this is something like, oh, just walking WASD, or if you're playing on the console, it's the
mm-hmm.
same one, and then you're like, oh no, there were some different ones, so should have gotten back to them. But yeah, I think that's a good idea for new developers to make sure that they add some points that where when the player's learning, they know that this is unskippable. So get that thing to yourself and then move on.
Yeah,
Certainly.
yeah, and also like gently reminding people when they return to the game for after like a long period of time. They think they know everything, they remember everything. They don't.
Yeah.
So a lot of games do this really well. I think uh, Clash of Clans, for example, if you take a 1 year break, when you return to the game, there's like a very special quest that kind of reminds you of the things that are going on in your village, because you might not remember, and that's like the um, that's a bad experience, that you should that the game thinks you should know all this and you don't. That's always a bad experience.
That is true. That is something also I will keep in mind. That's a great idea. Thank you. Right. So you've worked across multiple co-development projects and have often established IPs as well,
Yeah.
with established IPs. So when you're building something with an existing universe, where do you see tensions that usually show up between creativity, business goals, and brand expectations? And in addition to that, how do you navigate that without losing the soul of the game?
Yeah, so navigating that is exactly what I do and what I enjoy most, and it's not easy. I can tell you that. So uh, like I have a background in project management and production, And I think all the problems are people problems and communication problems. So when there's more people, there's more communication, and there tends to be more problems. And when there's more than one company or more than two companies, there's more different groups of people from different cultures, from different uh, companies with different goals. There's more of that communication, and there typically is more uh, issues in that communication. And I don't mean it's a bad thing. It's something that needs to be talked through. Something needs to be explained. Some ground rules need to be set. But the most important thing is that everybody working on the game, be that marketing or be that development, be that the IP holder, we need to have a shared goal, and we need to every one of us needs to know what that goal is, because I think the most alarming thing is that when you find out, maybe not early in the production, but like midway in the production, that um, you're actually making different games, and it from if you take a step back, it might look like you're making this one game, but like if somebody has a different goal or like different expectations for the product, that kind of steers it in a different direction, and we we should be helping each other, and we should be like complementing that know-how. But it's not always easy, and I think even with like professional level of game development or doing whatever, it's the people things that are the difficult ones, because something is not being said, something is not being asked, something is being assumed, and that's many times the most most kind of critical one, because you kind of need to assume things, but you don't want to assume too much. Um, and again, all that affects that creativity and what we are doing, because like game development process is and should be a very agile development process. Like compared to traditional software development, we are making more complex things in general, and we are changing things because it doesn't feel right. Even if it's technically there, it might not feel right. It might not deliver the right emotions to the player. So we might want to change that. And we need to have this flexibility. And if you are not familiar with how games are developed, this may look like you don't know what you're doing, or that you are just all over the place. We want to change that, because it's the player doesn't care about this enough, or it doesn't spark joy as much as it should. And communicating that, why we are doing what we are doing, why we think it should be done. And also the same goes to all the other partners. So for example, working with big IPs, it's important to know what are the most important things, what do they care about in their IP, because we worked with Squishmallows, we worked with Rambo. I think I know both IPs fairly well, and still talking to those people who worked on the brand every day, they know so much more. Like they know what the fans really love, what they care about, and it's such a different level. So communicating all that to each other, I think that's the most important thing.
That is so well said. I feel communication is the key. Like, if you're going to keep things from each other, it's not going to help you in the longer run. Because then, like you said, you'll steer away from an aligned goal that let's say there were 5 people who decided to work together, and then there are problems that take place where you don't talk, you don't open up, and you're keeping it like all the pent up emotions within yourself. It's not going to help you because you start feeling burdened and you feel that everything's going against you because you're
Mm,
not talking out.
mm,
So it's very important that you are open with people, you tell them what you feel. And when you're working in a team environment, it's very crucial that you're straightforward and you tell about this is my idea, and then you listen to the opinions of other people and learn how to take them in as well, because of course you cannot be correct all the time. So it's important that you take feedback, you value that, and then learn from anything that you
mm.
can. So I think ego is something that shouldn't come when you're working in teams. And of course, like, you should stand by what you believe, but of course don't let that get to your head. That is something I
Y-
totally believe in as well.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly. And like you should always in communication, you should over communicate. You should try to help others understand.
that is true.
And many times, like you said, it's really a problem when something is kept, but that's not always intentional because you might assume that everybody knows this, whatever thing I'm professional at. So
Yeah,
I just don't say it because everyone knows. And that might be the biggest mistake.
that's true. Absolutely. It's great that you reiterate, you share like this is what I think. And I think that's how you can emphasize that you're helping each other stay on the course by talking it out, by sharing. And that really keeps the common creative heartbeat alive amongst all the people and all the processes that go inside the game production process.
Yeah.
Yep. So you were talking about you having played many games. So lempipelisi, kun haluat rentoutua. Joo. And for the English audience, what is your go-to game when you want to relax?
So I play a lot of shooting games. I think like the first game that comes to my mind is Doom Eternal. So I play a lot of high intensity shooters. I play a lot of Helldivers 2. I just recently played Space Marine 2. So I think I like a lot of fantasy action games. I kind of like challenging myself. Uh, Maybe not to the kind of Dark Souls level, but still, I like challenging myself, and I never tend to give up. So I enjoy that repetition, even though it's like banging my head against the wall for
I
hours and
get that.
hours.
Yeah,
But
that is true.
I think it's for me, gaming is very relaxing, and like um, my partner looking at what I play, it might not look very relaxing like the games I play, but I think gaming is one of the best ways to shift your focus in just that one thing and have like full focus moment forget everything else and just let your mind relax when you are shooting demons in outer space.
Oh yeah, that is so true. I totally relate with that as well. Like for me, I think Minecraft will always remain the game that I will always love to play. And I also like personally kind of like playing story mode games. They've always been my favorite. So like I did get to play Resident Evil, and my friends were like, "How can you like get through playing that kind of games?" Because I can't watch horror movies in real life, but I just feel
Mhm.
like there's a fun element added to it, the suspicion element, so it keeps you on your toes. And also like Harry Potter legacy games and the sci-fi fantasy is always also been my favorite genre. And besides that, like if I talk IRL, I am a basketball lover. So like
Mm.
I go to play almost every day. There is a court near the Jyväskylä Lake in Jyväskylä. So I get to play, and I think it's a great way for me to unwind. I usually start my days or end my day by playing a physical sport because I think it's also great to keep you on your toes, and you can just like be with yourself and have a good time playing And yeah, like, because most of the time, of course, you're just sitting and working. So it's a great way to have physical activity and just be out there in the nature. So it's crucial that you are not just playing or working on your PC, but also
Yeah.
stepping out. Because I like to go for runs, walking around, and then let's add a few games here and there. Like there's
Yeah.
someone in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
comment
Yeah.
who
Me
also
too. Me
says
too.
that they love to play golf or basketball. That's probably answer. So yeah.
Yeah. I should pick up running again. I try to, but I've never really learned to enjoy running. Like actually now that I have kids, I enjoy just going outside by myself and having that time of nothingness. But
Oh yeah.
some people I talk to, they tell me that they have these euphoric feelings when they are running. Like I've never had that. No.
I agree. Like, I just feel like when I start my day with running, it just clears up my brain and gives me positive energy to start the day on a good note. And also, I think it's a very good way of having your self time where, like, you're running, physically, you're there, but mentally, you reflect, you be grateful, you think of what you can do throughout the day. So, that's something I personally feel. And I think everybody can have different emotions when they're running. So, that's how, you shape your personality. But yeah, it's a good physical exercise, and of course helps you to, like, maybe if it's -20, then no, but otherwise it's right now is a good temperature to go out for a walk or run.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really nice out there. Maybe I'll go for a run tonight.
Tosi hyvä. Right, so I always like ending on something reflective, especially with journeys like yours. If you could go back to your younger self, the one building, those first games, what would you tell him?
I think um, that is a really good question, and I think like from like the first thing I come up with is that there is like not maybe not just like self encouraging that you can really do this, but actually at that point I needed to be told that game development can actually be a career, because after high school I I figured I would have to go work a real job. Like I went to the universities to study IT, but when I started the studies, I was like thinking of like I was thinking of my career path as going to software development, but because I didn't know the game industry that well, even though I had made a handful of games already, I didn't know that it's a viable option to actually earn earn a living out of making games. Uh, Luckily, I again bumped into a bunch of like-minded people, and we ended up starting a company. But it 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 could have as easily been that I would be doing something else, or actually very similar tasks, but in a different environment, working on some other software thing, which wouldn't be nearly as fun as games. But I believe everyone should chase their dreams, and you can actually make a living out of pretty much anything if you really want to. And I think that's something that everyone should consider.
That is true. All you need to have is zeal and passion for it,
Yeah.
and have a vision that aligns to your mission, and of course, your ikigai. That
Yeah.
is true.
But still, I'm not telling that everybody should turn their hobbies into work, because
Oh, yes,
that's a
of
different
course.
thing.
Oh, yeah. Like what you feel that can work out as your profession, only that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, of course, hobbies are a great way to unwind. Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel today's conversation reminded us of how creativity, community, and purpose can shape every stage of game development. So that shows like from childhood curiosity and collaboration to balancing design integrity with business realities. So it's about building experiences that players truly value and teams grounded, of course, in shared vision where trust and joy of creation flourishes together. And thank you so much, Yussi, for your time for the podcast. And it was
Thank
great
you.
talking to you today.
Kiitos. Thanks for having me.
Kiitos, hyvää päivää, and thank you everyone for joining and listening to the episode. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, each one teach 10. Moikka!
Moikka!